Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your educator. I warmly welcome you all on our YouTube platform where we in today's video are going to discuss the important Marxist literary theorist by the name Frederic Jameson and Antonio Gramsci. So these are two prominent figures which are related to the field Marxist literary theory. Now, what was Marxism all about? It was, somewhere or the other telling us that how the material conditions that are there in the society, which are economic in nature, could be political, economic, etc. They influence the superstructure. We see the material base, the material production. It influences the superstructure that goes by having art, literature, science, etc. to its own self. So the culture is somewhere or the other imagined, shaped, influenced by the material base that is there, right? It is some sort of theory which was propagated and developed on the ideas of Marx, which were later on even taken up by we have Frederic Engels, who was somewhere or the other compiling certain works or finishing certain works of Marx as well, right? So let's just look at, first of all, Antonio Gramsci, Frederic Jameson, sorry. So his birth year is 1934. He was an American, a literary critic and a Marxist theorist. Only important work for now which you'll have to put a focus on is The Political Unconscious that came out in the year 1981. So these were certain introductory facts as well, which you all need to know about. Now moving forward, what type of approach does he take? He draws from different approaches. He takes certain things from structuralism, where he tries to tell that yes, of course, certain structures are there to govern the entire system. Then we see deconstruction, where he tries to deconstruct the meaning which is hidden beneath the surface. Archetypal criticism, which is related to some sort of myths also being propagated and how myths also try to propagate certain ideologies. Allegorical interpretation and Lacanian psychoanalysis. So he was one such person who was not fixated on only one view, one particular view of viewing things through a Marxist lens, but he held things from various other sources as well. Integration of theories, his approach involves integrating various theories, as we have talked about already, into Marxism for a very comprehensive interpretation of literary text. Now, as I told you, archetypal criticism is the one which focuses on myths, which focuses on how in a culture certain myths, certain superstitions, certain archetypes are circulated. How are they circulated? Are they not circulated through the usage of power and ideologies and shaped according to that? They are, right? So he tries to mix up or amalgamate 2-3 theories together so that there is a very comprehensive understanding of Marxist literary theory, right? The Political Unconscious is the book that he published in 1981. Central argument of the book is that Marxism can incorporate other interpretive modes. It can interpret texts to politically dissect a literary text and reveal its political unconscious, which you don't really know of. Here I would like to quote the example of George Orwell again. In George Orwell's work, we have 1984, and in 1984 the entity of Big Brother somewhere or the other is trying to show us the political unconscious of those times. Even if we move forward and ahead, आज के time पे भी there are CCTV cameras here and there, right? So we see how with the usage of those CCTV cameras, surveillance is always present. As Orwell had mentioned the same thing in the work 1984, where he says that how one person does not have a privacy of his own. So the political unconscious is there, which is trying to guide the other people with the totalitarianism that is prevalent in the novel itself, right? Concept is it involves exploring the hidden ideologically charged layers within the text. Just like in 1984, we have, as I told you, the entity by the name Big Brother. And we see this line popping up time and again that Big Brother is watching you. So you should be aware that there is some sort of authority that is over you that is going to watch your actions. And I have given this example multiple times when here sexual intercourse is not related to making love. Here it is just for the sake of completing your physical desires and not to make love or show affection or emotion towards that, because emotion here is seen to be some sort of a sign of weakness, right? अगर हम Aldous Huxley के Brave New World की भी बात करें, वहाँ पे भी the same thing is there. We do not know what is going to happen in the upcoming times, how technology is going to take a turn. So the ideologies etc. of the times are also, you know, reflected in Brave New World with alpha males and beta and how the babies are created in the scientific laboratories and all, right? And how they consume soma to keep their own selves happy. अगर गुस्सा भी आ रहा है, सोमा ले लेते हैं just to keep at ease, right? Exploration of subtext is also seen. Similar to Macrae, Jameson is interested in the subtext, focusing on historically and ideologically constituted elements within a text that remain unspoken or concealed. So in 1984, we do not know who the big brother is. But maybe Orwell is trying to refer it to some political party. Maybe he is trying to show us that, of course, there might be certain things that are going to come in the future. Take care of your self in a negative way that they are going to, be keeping you all under surveillance, right? So these are the unspoken and concealed meanings which we see through the literary subtext that is there, right? Allegorical interpretation kaise hai? Marxist allegory. Jameson's Marxist interpretation delves into allegorical layers of meaning in a literary work. The goal is to uncover dimensions of a text that are suppressed, that are hidden, revealing the ideological underpinnings. Any work for that matter, if you read, right? Any work you read, you will understand that there are some sort of ideological, अगर कोई writer लिख रहा है अपनी particular age में, उसको कोई ना कोई ideology तो influence कर रही होगी. There must be some sort of ideology that would be influencing a writer of a particular time. And how that writer tries to move ahead with that, what does, and this is the role of a theorist only, to uncover those hidden meanings which are not said straight away directly to all of us, right? So he tries to do that. So Jameson's approach has had a significant impact. He has been a very brilliant theorist in that matter. His ideas continue to shape discussions on the intersection of Marxism and literary theory. If we read Marxism, we cannot forget to read about Frederic Jameson, right? So that was the work that was important. I made you guys note down, and here is the quote. The political critic will want not only to demonstrate the way in which literature projects an image of social life, but also to grasp the way in which literature, in its very function, necessarily projects social images. This is what Jameson says. Now, what does he say? Literature holds an active role. How? It is not a passive mirror, but actively participates in shaping societal perceptions, whatever is being written there. And ये चीज हम बहुत सारी videos में पहले भी देखते discuss करते हुए आ रहे हैं, that whatever is going to be discussed, whatever is being talked about in a particular text, it is somewhere or the other, it may be making people aware, or it is going to shape a new sort of ideology that people did not know they had. It can shape their reality, right? Literature's purpose beyond narration serves the purpose before, beyond storytelling. It actively contributes. So literature has an active role is basically what he's trying to say in shaping society. Society कैसी है उसकी images को project करने के लिए literature is actively, literature is an active source or element that does that. Political critics' responsibility is to understand and analyze this role, to grasp what the writer is intending, what Orwell meant when he was talking about the themes of totalitarianism in his work, right? And so will be the case in Animal Farm as well. So these are the major works that are written by Frederic Jameson. The Political Unconscious, it has a subtitle as well. This Fables of Aggression, and all of them I've tried to provide you guys in a chronological format. Make sure you note it like that. Pause the video right now. Note them down if you want to, of course. Then we move forward with the other, major works here. Now, the last important critic that we have to discuss for today is Antonio Gramsci. He was one such person who lived from 1819 to 1937, political activist, Marxist thinker, a figure in cultural and political analysis. He was somewhere or the other taken into prison and he wrote prison notebooks करके अपना एक work. Notable for his contribution to the concept of hegemony. Hegemony क्या होता है? What is hegemony? When you know that you are being ruled, but you choose your own, person to rule. लेकिन वो person आपको manipulate करके they can rule over you, right? And his writings during imprisonment in the form of the work named Prison Notebooks. This is a very important work, right? The term is also very important. He was a socialist activist and a cultural commentator, leader in the Italian Communist Party, and influenced by their neo-idealism, right? And he was, because of the fact communist थे, इस वजह से he will be taken into prison. So his work, Prison Notebooks, was written between 1929 and 35 during his imprisonment. It covers various themes. You need to note this thing down: culture, politics, ideology, and Marxist theory. Of course, he's a Marxist, so he'll talk about Marxist theory, but how the politics are shaping the ideology as well as what he tries to take and consider while penning down the work Prison Notebooks. Posthumously published. This work was posthumously published, not published until he was alive, and this work has been taken up by many scholars to read through the various translations that have been published, right? So that's that. Now this is a term that he gave, and many a times we have seen that this question has been asked, that who gave or who coined the term hegemony. It's Gramsci. Cultural power exerted by prevailing ideas in society, and this power you do not know that the person who is ruling over you, आपने उसको power दे तो दी है, लेकिन वो आपके साथ खेलेंगे कैसे? How will they be manipulating you? You do not know that. Gramsci's analysis is that how ruling classes influences ideology in both the civil and state society. How they are, अगर हम normally proper society की बात करें, how on an entire level the people, they come in power and they take the place and they now start, somewhere or the other propagating ideologies. For example, cultural hegemony perpetuates social and economic inequality by normalizing the dominance of the ruling class through media portrayals. How the dominant class is portrayed through the media, उससे हम लोग को नहीं पता कि हम indirectly influence हो रहे हैं, that somebody is ruling us and we need to be the ones जो ऐसे ही हैं, suppress ही रहें चाहे, right? Then he also gave another term that is known as subaltern. People do get confused when they think कि subaltern is a term which for the very first time occurred in Gayatri Spivak's essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? But no, it's a term which Gramsci took, and later on Spivak took it for her own works as well. What are subaltern? The marginalized and oppressed groups lacking political and cultural influence. The minorities, the people who are ignored, the tribal people, the people who do not have their own voice, etc. In the metaphorical sense I'm talking about in here, who do not have a representation. Gramsci's interest was to understand how ruling classes maintain control through cultural and, क्योंकि यही hegemony है, culture and ideological dominance you are ruling. In a society with a dominant wealthy class, the working class could be considered subaltern, challenging the dominant ideology through alternative narratives and the grassroots movements. They are going to challenge. And here you see how beautifully things are there in the minds of different theorists. They are trying to express the same idea. जैसे यहाँ पे भी he is taking for an example of the dominant people and the people who are subaltern, which Williams on the other hand tries to talk about as dominant, residual and emergent as well, right? Or the bourgeois or proletariat. The bourgeois are the one who are the dominant class and the proletariat is the working class, right? The haves and the have-nots. So through different terms, you need to make sure that you are understanding the crux of the things entirely. Then we move forward. He had an influence in the cultural and political theory. Concepts like hegemony, subaltern continue to shape discussions, and even in today's time, you see that's why Spivak, she wrote about the subalterns. She wrote about, अगर मैं normally भी बोलूं, tribal people who are ignored, who are marginalized, not just the tribal people, the transgender people who are marginalized, the minorities that are marginalized. But she tries to present another point of view that somewhere or the other, अगर हम किसी की भी बात करते हैं, किसी minority में से somebody is coming there to present or represent someone, then again that representative is somewhere or the other holding the voices of the others. The others still are not speaking about their own selves. And here Spivak के साथ ही concept आ जाता है of the other. That why are we creating a difference between me and the other person? What is the concept of the other? How is the other different from me? That's some other thing to talk about, but I'm just giving you an idea here that subaltern marginalized people, right? Posthumously recognized for his profound interest and contribution, and he is related to this field only, and majorly we see how politically also he tried to talk about things. So hegemony is the cultural power of the prevailing ideas that are there. Subaltern, the marginalized groups who do not have any sort of influence, who are lacking influence, अपनी voice, अपना opinion नहीं दे पाते क्योंकि वो small groups हैं, minors हैं. Counter hegemony is challenging the dominant ideology for social transformation क्योंकि it is going against the hegemonic setting that is there. Counter कर रही है उसको. Cultural hegemony, ruling class influences, cultural narratives, whatever narrative they will set, dominant ideology, कुछ भी narrative बना सकती है, ये इंसान अच्छा है, ये इंसान बुरा है, whatever narrative they are going to set is going to be believed by the people who do not know that they are being ruled, they are being manipulated, right? Prison notebooks and letters from prison, these are the works that we see by Gramsci. Alright? So here I'll give you a quote by Gramsci. He says, every human being is an intellectual, whether he knows it or not. Why does he want to say that? Because he holds the purview that, of course, at times, even if you are belonging from some sort of minority, you are influencing the society. That is what Marxists hold as a point of view. His quote emphasizes the universal presence of intellectual capacity in every individual, regardless of their formal education. अगर कोई पढ़ा लिखा इंसान भी नहीं है, still उनमें कुछ ना कुछ चीजों की तो समझ होती है. And this thing suggests that everyone contributes in shaping ideas, consciously or not. If they are doing consciously, उनको पता है कि हाँ ये चीज गलत है, they are speaking against it, that's nice because they are consciously aware. They are unconsciously aware as well. Subconsciously aware as well. It means that they know something. They are intellectuals. And अगर हम intellectuals का rule पहले भी देखें, what is the role of the intellectuals? The role of the intellectuals is to bring about a change, as Raymond Williams puts it, who's another Marxist, right? Here, the hegemony का example that I would try to quote is from Animal Farm itself, how the pigs are ruling, right? They are representing the Soviet Union, and we see how there's Snowball who is representing the intellectual side who might bring a transformative change in the novel, right? So these are certain things कि आप उस theory को, how are you applying it to the text? So this was all what we had to discuss in today's lecture. I hope you've understood things, and the terms are important, especially related to Gramsci. I'll see you guys in another video. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye-bye.